All right, thank you all for joining us for David Hodges' surprise retirement party. It was worthwhile. No, we're here to celebrate Mr. Chang, and we are so honored to have him and his family here as guests tonight. For those of you who have never met his family before, I wanted them to come up, and Tom, if you would join us as well, and do a brief introduction of your family.
Okay.
He wants you to take a picture.
No, I'm actually recording. She's good.
It's good, is. Okay. My wife, Lynn, we married 43 years. My Curtis, my daughter-in-law, Mary, and my granddaughter, Corinne, and Chloe. Okay.
The second one is coming. Second set is coming afterward.
Thank you for bringing your family, Tom. And there are also some folks in the room who I've never met before until today, but they are long-termers, and I believe Chuck Freed is here. Are you right in front? And if you would like to come up and say something, not at all. The finance way.
I have to pay him if he says. Thank you. Thank you very much. You're welcome.
Accustomed as I am to speaking like this, but something did come to mind when I had not planned to do this, but something came to mind. The comment, "Don't get mad, get even," comes to mind. Tom and I, this was quite a few years ago, Tom and I went into Washington to some kind of a computer convention or something of that nature, and Tom drove. And we parked the car and we went in, and somehow we got separated. And I kept looking for Tom, I couldn't find him. And I finally called the office and they said, "Well, Tom's here. He left me at the bloody convention." And I had to take the metro and then have somebody come out and pick me up. So, Tom, I didn't get mad, but I'm getting even. And I still love you, Bubba.
I'm sorry.
Now you tell me you're sorry.
I see a couple other folks if you wanted to do a brief introduction, Bill.
Some of you still remember me. I'm Bill Mullen. I was the ops guy before Dave took over. And Tom and I had a fantastic relationship. If I ever needed any information regarding the financial scenario that was going on, I could rely on Tom. He and his family have been a very important part of my family's life. I'm married a little longer than he. I'm married 50 years. And I knew that I could rely on Tom all the time, even now. And so, Tom, God bless you. Good luck in your retirement and enjoy your 3-month vacation.
I did want to open it up for everyone else to share a story or a memory of Tom Chang with the group. And we all can't be shy. I put everybody on the spot without too much drink.
Come on, Bruce, you always have a story.
Be quick, be quick.
I don't have a story, but I do want to recognize Tom. As Bill mentioned, whenever you needed information, Tom was always there. I would generally go to Bill Mullen, and he'd make something up. I'd look at it, and it was clearly wrong. So I would go to Tom, and he would take the time to always explain all of the information, and we'd take as much time as necessary to provide whatever you needed to anybody, and very much appreciated. And he's done it for 25 24 years. Gonna miss you, but best of luck to you, and have a great time.
Thank you.
There are tons of short stories I'm sure we all want to share, which we don't want David Hodge to know about, so we're kind of keeping them close to the chest. But I do remember coming to Service Source and Tom welcoming me to the group amongst a lot of change that was amidst that I was not aware of when I first signed on. But he really helped me grow in my position and become successful. And there were plenty of times where he would smack Cheetos out of my hand and give me green tea. And plenty of times when we were called into David Hodge's office in trouble. As you know, when the door shuts, you're typically in trouble. And we would walk out, and we would have a little laugh, and then we would get down to business and do what we needed to do to make David happy. So I appreciate working with you, Tom. What great integrity you had for the finance department. You've always held my team accountable as well, and they appreciate it. I've had plenty of team members come and cry because Tom really is down to the last penny, hold you accountable. So we appreciate that in the organization. And thank you, Tom.
This is Swati here, for those who don't know. I sat across Tom's office for 5 years in Excel Road, and even though we didn't talk every day, but what I do remember, one trait that I'll take with me and I hold close to my heart is, no matter how bad the news, Tom always had a smile on his face. So if you go to Tom and say, do your trainings, he'll just laugh it out. Tom, your reviews are not done, he'll just laugh. You're over budget, and that smiling quality, Tom, we all hold very close to our hearts. So keep smiling and have fun.
Yes, we will definitely miss your smile, Tom. I do want to say that when I started with the company, I was a temp for a very long time. And when I became permanent, Tom was the first executive that came to me and said, see, good things happen for those who are well worth it, and be patient. I always told you, be patient, things will follow along. And it made me feel good because he recognized my work, and I never knew that he was paying attention to me like that. As far as my work, and I really appreciate that time, and it will always be close to my heart.
If you can continue to stay up here with your family, we'll begin the awards presentation. So I would like to call up David Hodge.
Okay, thank you. Mine is going to be a little bit longer than the others. You know, I've been thinking about this occasion for a long time. Actually, in the last couple of years, I was thinking about that, who's going to make a retirement speech, me for Tom or Tom for me? And I think we settled down that way tonight, right? And in the last couple of weeks that I was telling a bunch of people in the office that I'm making a retirement speech, everybody was getting so excited, and I was telling them, that's not me that I'm So, you know, first time that I met Tom in his office, I really, really liked him. I mean, what's not to like? I mean, he has a charming personality. He has a beautiful and a nice smile, and also a tremendous amount of knowledge. So I was really impressed with him, but I'm not sure that was reciprocal. And who's going to blame Tom for that? You see, I mean, you know, Tom and I, because of the job that we had in Service Source, we used to see each other 1 time, 2 times, 3 times, maybe even 4 or 5 times a day, depending upon the circumstances and the news and everything else that we had to take care of that. But Tom had a very, very special way of delivering a bad news to me. A very special way. It goes like this. He walks into my office, and this is a true story. He walks into my office, closes the door, sits in the chair in front of my desk, and stared my eyes point blank and does not say a word for 2, 3, 5, maybe even 10 seconds before he opens his mouth. So I developed this habit that every time he was coming to my office and shutting the door and sitting in front of me and staring at me, I go inside of me, Mississippi 1, Mississippi 2, Mississippi 3. And by the time I'm going to Mississippi 5 and 6, my heart is pounding. I said, this is bad. This is really bad. And believe me, there were some times that I even got into Mississippi 10 and 11 before he talked. And those were kind of the news that once we're done with it, I had to rush out of my office, go to Janet's office, and close the door. That was that kind of a news. But anyway, news, good news, bad news, no news. Tom has this habit of reduce everything into writing in his infamous notebook that he has. I mean, everybody that knows Tom, they know about that notebook, those notebooks. So a couple months ago, there was a transaction that happened, I don't know, about 2003 or 2004 or something like that. And I asked so many people about this. Nobody seems to remember exactly what had transpired. And Tom was either on vacation or not in the office. So I said, I got to wait for Tom to come back. So sure enough, Tom's come back, and I walk into his office early in the morning, and I walk in and I said, Tom, do you remember in 2003, 2004, that this transaction happened? Do you remember that? Can you shed some light on that one? Nobody seems to recall anything that goes on in this. And he looked at me, and the way he talks, he said, yeah, I remember something. Give me half an hour. Let me look at my files. I'll be back to you. I said, fine. So I will go back to my office. Sure enough, half an hour later, Tom walked into my office with this rundown notebook. You know, it's ragged, and the color is faded away from the top, you know, from the cover and everything else. You can hardly even, you know, flip the pages. And he says, he goes in the middle of the notebook and he says, here it is. On Wednesday, October 2nd, you walk into my office and told me to do this and this and this and this. And I said, I disagree with what you said. You said that do it anyway. All right? The other story that I have about this infamous notebook is that, you know, a few years ago I sent this, the so-called key witnesses feedback to some of his direct reports. Obviously, all of the direct reports are coming back very complimentary, and they say that, you know, how, you know, good Tom is, and, you know, great supervisor and everything else. But one of the direct reports actually wrote, and this is true also, he says that I am so afraid of Tom's notebook. Because every time that I go to his office and I talk to Tom, once the conversation is over and I get up to leave, he dives into that notebook and starts writing, and I'm petrified. What is he actually writing at that point? So, of course, you know, all those notebooks are all saved, they're all archived, they're all sitting in Tom's office in his office. And actually, you can walk in his office. Some of the memorabilia that he has in his office probably goes back in the first week that he started with ServiceSource. He saves everything. Speaking of savings, Tom, it's amazing. Tom, there is not one penny could be wasted in ServiceSource that could escape his eagle eyes. I mean, he was coming to my office left and right. Well, this guy is wasting $20, this guy is wasting $10, and I have to take action about those things. But the most important part about the saving is I think that I can say this with a conviction, that Tom is the only person in ServiceSource, that uses both sides of the paper for printing. At the beginning, I have trouble with that because I go to him and I said, Tom, give me that report. And then while I'm gone, you know, for lunchtime or something like that, I'm not in the office, I'm coming back, and the report is sitting either on my desk or in my chair. And I look at it, I said, my God, this is not the report that I want. So I walk into his office, I said, Tom, this is not what I asked him for. So he goes to me and said, no, it's the other side that you have to look at. Tom never closes his office door, never, even for lunch. The reason he doesn't close the office for lunch because his lunch is only about 30 seconds. That's what it is. I thought I'm the only one that will observe this. But somebody who's here, Bill Mullen, once told me that nobody in the office or in the world goes through that sandwich as fast as Tom Chang does. Right? Remember that? So Tom is the way that he does. And the last thing that I want to share with you is that I don't know how many of you know that Tom actually is a great dancer and a semi-professional singer. Now, I was honored to be invited to his son's wedding. He was here, right? Yes. And after we had the dinner and everything else, the dance floor was open and the music started, and here's Tom, the first one on the dance floor, started dancing, shaking, and twisting in Lucky Chubby Checker. My goodness gracious! And he's a semi-professional singer. He actually sings in a choir, and they actually do that in Rockland. A couple of months ago, actually, choir, an entire crew, they went to mainland China. And also to Taiwan for concert, pretty much like Bon Jovi, Rolling Stones, and they sell tickets and they go and bid. But anyway, Tom, I mean, those are the stories that I wanted to share. But let's get serious for a moment. I wanted to thank you so much for 24 years of a dedicated and committed service that you had for ServiceSource. You have been a model employees that we all need to emulate from you. Your contribution to ServiceSource was immense, and your legacy in ServiceSource will shine forever in the office. On behalf of the company as a whole, people that are here, and also people that are not here, I want to thank you for 24 years of committed service and dedication that you have for ServiceSource. I personally want to thank you so much for 13 years of putting up with me, and also taught me so much in 13 years about ServiceSource. And personally, I want to thank you so much for being a colleague, and more important than that, being a friend with me in the last 14 years. I cherish that one, and I'm really proud of that for the rest of my life. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Token of our appreciation, I have a small gift for you from the ServiceSource that I want to present this one to you, and hope you like it. I don't know if we have to open it or not, but you can keep that one. However, there is also a plaque in commemoration of your 24 years of service that I would like to Janet Samuelson to come here and present that one to you as part of a retirement service and say a few last words for the retirement. Janet, please.